Hello, my name is Joe Hoyle from the University of Richmond. I'm author of your financial accounting textbook, and we're now into a chapter on making good decisions about organizations. And this is the first video lesson in that chapter, and your roommate has come to you, and you're talking to you about the idea that accounting is a language. Now, most of the time when people talk about accounting, they don't get into the idea that accounting really is a language. And for someone who's never been in accounting, this can be mystifying because they think about accounting as being simply adding numbers up. 10 plus 10 is 20. But really, that's not what got me interested in accounting. I love the idea that accounting conveys information. And when you think about it, what is a language? A language is a way that people can convey information, whether you speak English or Spanish or Japanese. All of those languages serve to convey information. If I say, for example, that I drove here today in my green car, you understand what I mean because you speak the same language that I speak. And so even though you may not know me personally, you do know how I arrived at campus today. I drove here in a green car. Why does it work? How does a language work? Because if you understand how a language works, you can come to understand how financial accounting works. A language works because of two things. The first is there is a set terminology. When I say I drove here today in a green car, all of those words mean something very specific. You know what the color green is, you know what a car is, you know what the word drive means. So therefore, I have used set terminology to convey information to you. But clearly, terminology is not the only key in accounting or in a language. Because I could say car, drive, green, here, today, and that would make no sense at all. Same words, same terminology, but they don't make sense. Why? Because the language has a structure to it. That has grammar rules, it has punctuation, it has syntax, it has structural rules that allow for the communication to take place. But if you know the terminology and you know those structural rules, then you can communicate in virtually any language. And that's what I want from financial accounting. I want to be able to communicate about an organization so that you can make good business decisions about that organization. So how do we use that in accounting? What does that mean about your coverage of financial accounting? First is, you're going to find out in this textbook that there's a lot of set terminology. You'll hear the terms debits, credits, FIFO, LIFO, accumulated depreciation, and the like. There's lots of terminology. That terminology has a very specific meaning. And you'll need to understand what those terms mean. And of course, we'll make sure you do. But accounting has a set terminology. Secondly, there's a set structure to accounting. So that whether you're in San Diego or Detroit or Memphis, it has the same structure. And we'll teach you in this textbook how that structure works and, maybe just as importantly, why it works that way. Because if you know the terminology of accounting and you know that organizational structure, then a company can communicate to you and you can understand how it's doing. And that allows you to make good business decisions, whether you're buying stock, whether you're giving loans, or whether you're just deciding whether to work for a company or not. They can communicate and you can determine the financial health, future prospects of that organization. And anytime you can do that, you're on the road to a successful business career. So why is accounting a language? Accounting is a language because A, it's attempting to convey information, and B, because it has a terminology and an organizational structure that allows that communication to take place. So, what is your goal? If your goal is to learn to understand the communications, we'll want to make sure that you learn that terminology and that you figure out how the organizational structure of accounting works. This is Joe Hoyle. I'm at the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia. Hope your course is going well. Have a wonderful day.